Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. Well, we are being blessed with a nice, cool week here in southern Missouri. The last 2 weeks have been brutal.
It's been a while since you guys have been into Wattlesville, so we thought we would start our video today doing chores with them.
So let's head on into Wattlesville because our project for today is also in Wattlesville. Well, let's start by letting the ducks and geese out since they're by far the noisiest. But I wanted to show you guys real quickly this awesome sign that one of our subscribers sent. We're going to hang this on the duck cage today. It says, "Waddle on in." I think that's perfect for the duck cage here in Wattlesville. Let's hang that up and let them out because, boy, they sure let you know that they're ready to come out for the day. Good morning, ducks. I'm coming. I hear you. Everybody's hungry, I know.
Time for the Silkies to come out too. They're anxious. Are you guys ready to come out? Good morning.
Well, now that everybody is fed and taken care of for the morning, it's time to get started on the project. Now, this is not going to be a project that we finish all in one day. What we're going to start working on today, you guys, is something that I've been wanting to do for years, and I've just never had a good area to do that, and that is to build an outdoor quail aviary. A lot of you have asked if I'm going to be raising them directly on the grass, and I'm not, and I'll tell you why. First of all, protecting them from predators and from parasites is going to be a lot harder if I have this right on the grass. Initially, they'll have nice green grass inside of there, but within just a matter of a couple of weeks, the grass will be gone, and then when it rains, if any water gets underneath the hoop coop, they're going to be living basically in dirt. It's not that big of a deal with the animals like the ducks and the chickens because all day long they get to free range, but the quail will be in this cage, in this aviary, all day long, every day. Coturnix quail cannot free range. They cannot be just out in the open because they have no natural defenses and they would basically all die to predators within just a matter of days. And they also really don't have much homing instinct, so chances are they would all just take off. So these will be living 100% of the time inside of the aviary, but at least out here they will be getting fresh air. They'll have a lot more space. They won't be living on wire, and I think it will be a good situation for them. So we're going to basically build them a hoop coop like we've built for our other animals. It's actually going to be the same size as the one that we have here for the ducks. It's going to be 7 feet wide by 12 feet long and about 6 feet tall. It'll be tall enough that we can walk inside of it. The difference between this one and all of the other ones that we've built is what I touched on just a minute ago, and that this one is going to be up off the ground. We're going to actually build a platform to set this one on. It will make it a lot easier for us to secure it from things like snakes. It will also keep them off the ground so that they have less chance of getting parasites and living in dirt. And it will make it easy for us to be able to clean out. We've picked this spot right here next to the duck coop as the spot that we're going to put this. And we did that really, the only reason we picked this spot is because it's one of the few fairly level spots in all of Wattlesville. Everything else is pretty much on a hill, but this spot right here is actually pretty level. I'm hoping today we can get the platform done and the frame of the hoop coop and at least get the hoops up so we can start to see the size. If we can get that all accomplished today, I'll be very happy. So we've got a lot of our lumber laid out here. Now I am going to be building this out of treated lumber. The rule that I have here on our homestead is that I use treated lumber for all of the projects that we need to do that are going to have contact with the ground, unless the animals that are going to be live inside of it chew on the wood. So like, I won't build rabbit tractors out of treated lumber, but I have no problem building something like this where they're just going to be, you know, living inside of it out of treated wood. So today we're going to be using treated 2x4s, 4x4s, and treated plywood that will be on top of this. Now again, we're going to be making this 12 feet long by 7 feet wide. I always do our hoop coop 7 feet wide, and the reason that I do that is because then when you use a 16-foot cattle panel to make the hoop, it makes it about 6 feet tall in the middle, and that's tall enough to be able to walk inside of, and that's always what I like to do. So we're going to get started on this platform. The first thing we need to do is we need to cut these 8-foot 4x4s down to about 6'5", so that the overall length of this will be 12 feet by 7 feet. So this is about the size, well, this is the size that the hoop coop itself will be. Originally, I had thought about making the platform a little bit bigger than the actual hoop coop, but I decided against that because what I don't want is for when it rains, for water to hit the platform on the outside of the hoop coop and run in. By doing it this way, when we put the tarp on, I can put the tarp down onto the side of these 4x4s, and then the rain will actually run all the way off, and that's what we want. That will keep the quail the safest. So we need to kind of square this up and start screwing this all together, and then we're going to run 2x4s every 2 feet on here before we start putting in our on our plywood. Well, the skeleton of the platform is about done, and what we're going to do now is we're going to just take a level and we're going to see how far off we are. I really don't think we're that far off. Well, gosh, you guys, that is not very far off at all. I'm not even sure I'm going to worry about that. I mean, we are building on the ground, so it's not going to be perfect. All right, the next thing we need to do is cut our plywood down to size. These sheets are 4 foot by 8 foot sheets, so we're going to cut them to So we're going to leave them at 4 foot, but we're going to cut them to the 7 foot size of our platforms. Now again, this is ground contact rated plywood, so it is outdoor plywood, and it's a 1/2 inch thick. So that should be plenty thick. I think this will hold up for a lot of years for these quail. We're going to just cut it here on the back of the trailer. I didn't bring any sawhorses out with us, but this will be just fine. Make sure when we put these on, we're looking at what side should be up and down. That one's got a bunch of knot holes in it. Make sure that's down. Only thing left to do for this part of the project is to screw all of these in place. As soon as we have that done, we'll get back with you guys and we'll start actually building the hoop coop. Well, the platform is completely finished. We took a quick break for lunch and now we're back out here. The next thing that we need to do is we need to actually build kind of a frame on top of this platform. We're going to do that out of pressure treated 2x2s. I actually ripped some 2x4s into 2x2s so that we can do this. Originally I was going to just use 2x4s and put them on their side here, which would give us about a 3.5 inch spacing here. But the more we thought about that, the more we thought by the time the hoop is on here and then the tarp goes over the outside, it's going to leave quite a gap, and we don't really want to do that. So we're going to use 2x2s instead. And I think it'll be plenty strong because we're going to basically be screwing them right into this 4x4 platform. So I've already got those all cut to size. We're going to get those screwed on, and right after that we'll start putting the cattle panel arches over the hoop coop. All right, you guys, we got that frame built on top, and as we were walking around screwing that on, I realized that these pieces of plywood have quite a bit of play. You can see I have the whole thing flipped upside down right now. Sarah and I flipped this upside down. I can tell you this sucker's heavy. But as we were walking on it, the space between here, there was a lot of play in this 2x4. So I've decided to flip it upside down and go back now and we're going to add wood down the middle. I didn't think we'd have to do that, but you know what? Once we have the hoop coop built on top, we have no option to go back and do it. So we're going to do it now. We're going to get that done today. We're going to flip this back over when we're done. And then that's as far as we're going to get today, but that's not where the video is going to end. But it's getting really hot. It's almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the hottest part of the day. So we'll probably pick this back up first thing in the morning to finish and start on the hoops and all of that. So we're going to get these boards put on, and then we'll flip it back over and see if that added the stability that I think it's going to add. Well, we've got this all put together. I ended up adding 2 rows of 2x4s, so that I think that will really give it some good stability. Like I said, once the hoop coop is on there, we have no option to flip it upside down. So we either have to do it now or never. So now was the better option. 1, 2, 3.
Ready? Ready? I think we're gonna be okay. Ready?
Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Let's walk on it and see. Oh my gosh, that's so much better. Yeah, that's like night and day. All right, we made the right decision, so that's good. Now, like I said, we're going to be done for the day today, but the video is not ending, so we'll see you guys in just a second, but it'll be tomorrow morning. Well, good morning, everybody. We are back for day 2, hoping to finish up what we didn't get accomplished yesterday on this quail aviary. Our goal for this morning, and we're going to try to work till about noon on this project, and then we need to move on to some other things, is that we're going to get the hoops put up, and we're going to get the bracing for the hoops on the front and the back. If we can get that accomplished before lunchtime, I'll be very happy today. So for the hoops, we are going to be using standard cattle panels, just like we do on most of our other hoop coops. I experimented with some other types of panels on some of the other coops that we've made recently, and to be honest, the regular cattle panels just seem to work the best, and I don't think it's worth the extra cost of buying the panels that have smaller squares. So we're using standard cattle panels on these. These are 50 inches tall and 16 feet long. And the reason that we always build our hoop coop 7 feet wide is because when you use a 16-foot long cattle panel, that will make the center about 6 feet tall. So it'll be tall enough to walk inside of. So that's what we're getting going on this morning. Now, first thing we need to do is to get that first hoop put up.
That's good.
All right.
I'll help you get it.
Yeah.
The spring going in the right way. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, shoot.
It's okay.
All right. Hold on there.
There we go.
It needs to be in the corner a little bit more. There we go. Perfect.
All right. We need to anchor that at the bottom. All right, so we've got the first hoop up. It isn't anchored to the base yet. We're going to do that in a second, but I wanted to show you guys. So I'm 5'10", and you can see that this made this just about 6 feet tall, which is plenty tall for me to walk in. All right, so the way that we're going to anchor this to the base is that what I like to use is this plumbing hanger. If you've watched our channel for any time at all, you know this is probably one of the handiest things around the homestead. This comes on a big long roll. I think I buy like, I don't know, a couple 100 feet of it at a time. And then you can just cut this into lengths, and it makes great things that you can use all over the homestead for lots of different things. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a piece of this plumbing hanger off. I always like to use about 5 little holes here. And we're going to add 3 of these on each side of the cattle panel. I think I'm going to do is basically what all we're trying to accomplish here. The spring action of the cattle panel is pushing against this 2x2, so we don't really need to worry about that part of it. What we need to worry about is whether or not this can lift up, because if it were to lift up above this 2x2, then it could spring out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screw this piece of plumbing hanger to the 2x2, like that, and then I'm going to fold this over and kind of bend that right against the panel. And then we'll put a second screw like that, and that way that can't lift up. It might be able to lift up a little bit, but it's not going to once we have everything on here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put 3 of these on each side. And then we'll decide whether or not we're going to build the back bracing or put the second cattle panel up, depending on how strong we think this is. All right, so we've decided that we're going to put the next hoop up before we build the back. We're going to try to get all 3 hoops up before we do the bracing. What's going to happen is this panel is going to go right up next to this one, but the final panel, because our sizes don't match up perfectly, the final panel is going to actually have to overlap this second panel. So we want some play in these to help move things around as we're trying to do that overlapping. I've been thinking about how we can get this last panel to overlap effectively, and I think I came up with a good plan. Because these things have a lot of spring to them when you're working with them, and you can easily get injured. So this, I think, will save us a lot of time and a lot of risk. So basically what needs to happen is this next panel will need to kind of go over the outside of this panel, which is why we didn't attach this here. So as we're hooping it, we can push this in and kind of slide that over. But because we have this frame already built here on the front, that's going to make it a little difficult. So what we've decided to do is actually take this 2x2 here back off, so that even if this hangs over the front, it doesn't matter, because we can hang over the front until we can get it pushed into place. Then we'll put that 2x2 back on and we should be good to go. All right, that made that much easier taking this 2x2 off. So now that we have that last panel on, we can put this 2x2 back in place. We'll just screw it down, and then we can get on with building the frame on the front and the back. We're going to start by building the brace here at the back of the hoop coop. The way that I like to do this, because when you're working with these cattle panels, there's no such thing as anything perfect. You know, they move. It's just not a perfect science building with these cattle panels. So I can't tell you what angles you're going to need to cut. It's going to depend on how you're building it. When I build them not on a platform like this, it's nice because we're nice and level, and that makes things easier. When you're building them right on the ground, you may not be perfectly level, and your angles might be different. So I can't tell you what angles to build at, but I can show you what I do. So the way that I like to do this to make sure I get the angles correct for the one that I'm building at the time is I find the middle of the cattle panels, which is here, and then I go down 1, 2, and then I take my 2x4 and I slide it up through there. Now what I can do is I can hold this 2x4 in place, and I can trace that angle onto the 2x4. Now I do need to go get a level because we do want this to be straight up and down. And then once we have this, but you can see how this moves? That's why we need to have the level on here. But that also, as that moves, that changes the angle here on the 2x4. So once we get that level, we can trace that angle on the 2x4, and then I just use a circular saw to cut that angle. And then I'll show you how we actually attach that. So eventually what we're going to end up with is 2 of these uprights, one right here and one over here. And then we'll also be putting 2 angled boards that will go down to support those, and then one also across the center, and that will give this a ton of rigidity. Now, as you're doing this and you're trying to find the level spot for this board to attach, you do want to make sure that you're not moving these cattle panels a terrible lot, unless they don't look like they're even the way they are. But in our case, because we're building on a level surface, the hoops actually look pretty symmetrical. So we're gonna try to keep that as much as we can.
So we're gonna move the board rather than
we're gonna move the 2x4 instead of the cattle panels.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So I'm going to trace here, and I'm also going to mark down on the bottom the two sides of our 2x4 so we remember where this spot is. Alright, so we've got our board cut. In our case, this ended up being about a 25-degree angle here, but again, that's going to change every time you make one of these. So you can see now that we can put this board in place. It's going to match up with the hoop here. Sarah's going to hold it where we marked our spot down there. And at the top, once again, I'm going to use the plumbing hanger just like I did on the sides. I've told you guys this stuff is handy. I'm going to cut a couple pieces of this off. So the way that this plumbing hanger will attach is I'm going to use two short pieces of it like this. One is going to go from the board around the cattle panel in this direction. This will prevent the 2x4 from moving in this direction. And then I'll use a second piece around the back side of the 2x4 like this, and that will prevent the 2x4 from moving in this direction. This is how I've done all of the hoop coops that we've built, and it's worked out really well. There we go. So now that's attached at the top. We'll double check level, and then we'll attach this 2x4 down at the bottom to the frame. We're right on level, so that's great. I'm going to put my screws at an angle so that they go down into that 4x4 base that we built yesterday. And that should stay just fine. Now we'll add our angle brace that will go from the side of this board over to this corner. And that is another situation just like at the top where the angles are never the same. So we just need to do the best that we can. All right, so for these side braces, which are going to go basically, something like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to use up some of the scrap wood that we've made over the last couple days. So what I like to do is on one end, I like to just leave it at a 90-degree angle like I already have it, like it comes from the store. And that's the end that will go here by the cattle panel. And then for this other end, what I like to do is I will just hold this against our board here. And then I'll just trace a line where those meet. And then you can see that that's where I need to cut my angle to go up against here. And then when I come back and that's cut, we'll be able to screw directly to the side of this 2x4 and to our base, and then that will give a lot of support for this 2x4. Let me go cut this, and we'll be right back. All right, we've got our board cut. Let's go ahead and attach that. That's nice and strong, and now look at how strong that makes that 2x4. So now that we have this upright done, we're going to do exactly the same thing over on this other side, and then we'll be adding a cross brace across here. When we get to that point, we'll come back and I'll show you how we're going to do that. All right, so we have both of our uprights and both of our angled braces put up, and you can see already how much stability that has given these cattle panels. So the last thing we need to do on this back section for today is we need to run just a cross brace here. We've got our cross brace piece cut. We're going to go ahead and attach it. Perfect. And now when we get ready to put that metal on, we'll have a good solid place to attach it to. All right, we need to move on to doing the front side. It's going to be exactly the same as the back side, except instead of having this cross brace way down here, it'll be somewhere up toward the top because that will be the door entrance. So we're going to go ahead and get to work on that, and then this project will be finished for today. Pretty darn good. Look at this. We got the shell of the quail aviary completely finished.
It is so sturdy.
Yeah, it really did. It turned out really sturdy. I'm excited to get the rest of this done, but it's not going to be today. We've got other things we need to move on to. But you guys, this is a great start.
You know, honestly, I think that this one went the smoothest out of all of the hoop coops we've made.
Right.
You guys, we've made a lot of them so far.
I think that has a lot to do with us building the platform and making sure we're on a level surface.
It could be, but this was almost a delight to make so far.
Right. So that's where we're going to wrap up today's video. You guys, I'm going to try to figure out how many quail I think I can fit in here and all of that. And then we're going to get back to work on this probably in the next couple days. I'll bring you guys along for that. But thank you so much for spending some time with us. I hope that this project encourages you to try things on your homestead. I'll be real honest with you guys. I don't know for sure if raising quail in this type of environment is going to be a good thing or a bad thing. We're not going to know until we give it a try. But it's something that I've wanted to do for several years now. I know a lot of you have wanted me to do this for several years now, and I'm glad that it's finally coming to life.
You guys, if you are enjoying videos like this, make sure that you are subscribed to our channel. And remember that the best way you can help us here on the homestead is just to share our videos on your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.